Whoops.
Have you even started working yet?
Working on what?
Videos for your kids?
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Whoops. Okay, I'll just finish that TikTok later. Alrighty, guys. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So go ahead and take out a pen and or pencil and definitely a piece of paper because we are going to be taking some notes right now. And yeah, just, you know what? I'll finish that TikTok at a later day. This is more important right now. We're going to piece out in this little box right here. We're going to meet in OneNote. All right, guys. So before we get into today's lesson, let's go over some practice problems. So for numbers 1 through 4, I basically want you guys to multiply all that out and tell me what you get for your answers. So I'm going to give you these should only take like 10 seconds. Okay, guys. So hopefully for number 1, you got 0. 3 times 0 is 0. For number 2, you should have gotten 0 because that's a lot of numbers that are being multiplied. But hey, look, there's a 0 thrown in there. X times 0 is 0, and then y squared times 0 is, oh, would you look at that, also 0. All right, cool. No surprises there. So let's talk about something called the zero product property. So the zero product property states that if A times B equals 0, then A has to be 0 or B has to be 0. In other words, what this is basically saying is that anytime we multiply something by 0, we know the product is going to be 0. So 0 times anything will always be 0. Anytime the product is 0, we know one of the numbers that we multiplied had to be 0. Okay, so for example, for numbers 1 through 5, let's go ahead and answer these using the zero product property. So if I'm solving for the variable, 3 times a equals 0. Okay, so to undo that, we're going to divide both sides by 3. 0 divided by 3 is 0, so I end up with a equals 0. Same thing for b. I'm going to end up dividing by 12 on both sides to get b by itself. So here, I end up with b equals 0. And then here, I'm going to divide both sides by 18. 0 divided by 18 is 0, so here, c equals 0. Okay, so now for number 4, I see that I have 5 times the quantity of a minus 1 equals 0. All right, so let's start using our undoing rule. So I have 5 times the quantity of a minus 1. To undo multiplication, I want to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Then I have a minus 1 equals 0 divided by 5, and 0 divided by 5 is 0. Okay, so then to solve for a, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I end up with a equals 1. Now, one way that I can check is if I plug that value back into my equation, I should get 0. So I have 5 and then plug in 1 for a. So I have 5 times 0 equals 0, and that is a true statement. Okay. All right, we're going to do the same thing for the next one. So we're going to start off by dividing both sides by 3. And I have b plus 4 equals 0 divided by 3 is 0. To get b by itself, I want to subtract 4 on both sides. So I have b equals negative 4. Now, again, I can check my work and plug that value for b back into my original equation. So my original equation was this. I'm going to plug the value that I got for b back in. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So I have 3 times 0. And that is also a true statement. Okay, so the zero product property allows us to use the fact that if we have two numbers and I multiply them and the answer is 0, one of those two numbers has to be the number 0. That's basically what the property is saying again. Okay, let's look at 6. So for 6, start off, let's divide both sides by 2. Divide both sides by 2, so I get c minus 4 equals 0 divided by 2 is 0. Add 4 to both sides. So here, c is going to equal 4. And then for number 7, we're going to divide both sides by 7. I have 3e minus 1 equals, whoops, I almost wrote 7. Nope, 0 divided by 7 is 0. Add 1 to both sides because we want to undo everything. So I have 3e equals 1. To undo 3 times E, I want to divide both sides by 3. So my answer for E, the value of E is 1/3 or 0.333. But I prefer fractions. All right, let's go ahead and level up a little bit. So for numbers 8 and 9, I have x minus 1 times x plus 4 equals 0. Okay, so let's use the zero product property. The zero product property says that because I have this whole thing times this whole thing, and the answer is 0, then either this thing in yellow has to be 0, or this thing in yellow, or this thing in green has to be 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to set both of those quantities equal to 0 and figure out our two possibilities for what x can be. So over here on the left, I have x minus 1 equals 0. To undo that, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So one of my solutions is x equals 1. If I put 1 into this equation, I'm going to get a true statement. Now, if I look over here, when I solve for x in the other one, in the other equation that I wrote, I get x equals -4. If I put -4 into this equation up here, I'm still going to get a true statement. Let's go ahead and check that. So let's start off by plugging in 1 for x, which is what I got over here. So I have 1. We're going to plug in 1 wherever we see an x. So I have 1 plus 4 equals 0. We're going to see if this is a true statement. 1 minus 1, that's 0. 1 plus 4, that gets us 5. Does 0 times 5 equal 0? Yes. So this is one of my solutions. Now let's go ahead and check the other one. Let's plug in -4 wherever I see an x. So I have -4 minus 1. -4 plus 4 equals 0. -4 minus 1, that's -5. -4 plus 4, that's 0. And when I multiply -5 times 0, do I get 0? Yes. So that tells us that when I plug in 1 for x or -4 in for x, I get a true statement. Therefore, both of those numbers are your answers. They're both solutions. They both make the equation true. Okay, let's go ahead and try number 9. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. I have this thing in yellow times this thing in green. And when I multiply them together, they're telling me that the answer is 0. So if I'm trying to solve, what I want to do is set both of those equal to 0, both of those quantities equal to 0, and solve. So for this one, I can add 4 to both sides. And one of my solutions is x equals 4. Now for the next one, the one in green, I'm going to set 3x minus 6 equal to 0. And I'm going to solve for x. So to solve for x, I'm going to start off by adding 6 to both sides. And I get 3x equals 6. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And I get x equals 2. So what this means is when I plug in 4 for x, or when I plug in 2 for x, I get a true statement for this equation. Let's go ahead and test it. Okay, so my original equation is x minus 4 times 3x minus 6 equals 0. Now I'm going to plug in 4 for x. 4 minus 4. 3 times 4 minus 6 equals 0. Okay, 4 minus 4, that's 0. 3 times 4, that's 12, minus 6 equals 0. If you want, you could keep simplifying, but you could stop right here and see that I have 0 times this whole thing. So 0 times this whole thing is going to get you 0. And just to prove it to you, let's go ahead and simplify the stuff inside parentheses. So 12 minus 6, that's 6. So I have 0 times 6, and that's going to be 0. That's a true statement. So 4 satisfies the equation. Let's check the next one. Again, my original equation is x minus 4. 3x minus 6 equals 0. So now I'm going to plug in a 2 wherever I see an x. So I see 2 minus 4. 3 times 2 minus 6 equals 0. All right. 2 minus 4 gets us -2. 3 times 2, that's 6, and then minus 6 equals 0. All right, let's simplify the stuff inside parentheses. So I have negative 2 times 0. And again, that gives us a true statement. So both of these answers here are solutions to your equation. All right, so now that we've gone over some examples together, it's your turn. I want you guys to solve for the variables in 1, 2, and 3. Hit pause on this video, solve for G, solve for A, and then find me the 2 different possibilities that X could be in number 3. All right, guys, welcome back. So hopefully you got a chance to try these on your own. Let's test those skills. So for number 1, we should get that G equals 0. That's very much like the problems that we started off this video with. For number 2, we are getting that A should equal negative 2, and I have my work shown throughout. And then for number 3, I end up with X equals 4 and X equals negative 5. So if you got these solutions, then you are good to go and you should move on and try the homework. If not, I would suggest rewatching the video and retrying these problems and then trying the homework, and make sure to check your solutions. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Love you guys so much. Miss you guys so much. And I'll see you in my next video.